especially with the way, like, think about the way Morgan just kind of broke it down, right? His first experience being like, this person didn't even take time to speak with me to
Two
figure
of
out.
them.
I said two of them.
Just
The,
no,
right, the
flat out.
agent
Yeah.
or the banker.
Yeah.
Just no.
Right, really?
Yeah.
And
the reason because of that is we live in a industry, or we work in an industry where it's strictly commission, right? Like, we only eat what we kill. So
You say that all the time.
yeah. So if a lot of times is weed out, right? That's what a lot of the heavy hitters will say. Oh, weed people out, figure out who's serious, who not, figure out who qualifies and who doesn't, right? Because in order, hey, if you got bills to pay, I don't get paid to consult you. And I tell people that all the time. There is not a loan officer, mortgage broker who is paid to consult you. They don't have to.
What?
That is true.
You realtors and mortgage brokers, the bulk of us, most of us, 99.999% of us, only kill what we eat, which is we don't get a check until we get you to the closing table. So if I get a client who has a 780 credit score and another client who has a 500 credit score, guess who I'm going to spend the majority of my time with?
Right.
Just off the strength of, I know that the path of getting to a check is going to be easily taken with the client who already has the credit that's up to par.
Wow.
And that's the reality of it. That's the uncensored truth about our industry.
Yeah. And that's real.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
So, like, Morgan, how important do you think it is for people in your industry to have healthy relationships with lenders? Like, do you have multiple that you like to use? Is that okay in your industry if you just keep using the same person? Like, is that biased? Is that like what you think is the best interest for the client?
So I try to have good lenders in my back pocket. And the reason why is because it's not always easy to get someone from, hey, I'm a pre-approved, or hey, I want to buy a house, to the closing table. It's literally a collective effort. So not just a good lender, you need a good closing attorney, you need a good buyer's agent, you need a good, you need a good brokerage, you need some good backing. But to answer your question specifically, what I like to do is basically have 3 lenders. So I don't have like a bias of someone saying, hey, you pushed me to this person, and it may not be a good match for that person.
Right.
So you also want to understand what that lender is able to provide, and also you want to try to match the personality with the person as well. So that's what
That's good. Well, I am very fascinated, and you brought up something. You mentioned it's very important for our people. Now, I've talked to Morgan about this probably, and I'm always like, I don't know if you know the stats on how many African Americans own homes, but I did read an article about African Americans being substantially greater for getting denied. What would you suggest to people who maybe are getting denied, how they can go about that and try to find the right resources and people like you?
Yeah.
If they never met you before, like, how can they talk to somebody that may have their best interest in telling them what to do to get qualified?
Definitely. I would say within our community, at least for me personally, my experience in dealing with people in our community, because the majority of the loans that I've closed are people who are African American.
Yeah.
The number one thing that people within our demographic somewhat fail to realize or don't necessarily comprehend is financial literacy and how credit is calculated, right? Credit is normally the biggest hindrance in a lot of people being able to qualify for a mortgage. It's credit. Simple as that. And a lot of people think, okay, my credit score is good, I should be able to qualify. It's not just the credit score, it's also the amount of debt that you carry compared to how much income you make, right? So I've had people who came to me and go, okay, well, my credit score is in the high 600s, and I heard that if as long as I have a 580 credit score, I can qualify. Yeah, but you do an application, and I go, well, you can only qualify for a home that's $150,000, which in Atlanta, is that doable?
It's this room over there.
Exactly
what it is.
Exactly, right? We're not in pre-pandemic Atlanta anymore, right? Where you could actually get something for
Oh my God,
$250.
Right?
Less than that.
Right.
But back in the day, it was. I remember
Yeah.
when I first moved to Atlanta, you can buy a nice 4-bedroom home for like $150,000.
Especially down in like McDonough.
Yeah, I know, or in Austell.
or in
Yeah, it was like
wholesale.
homes that were 150, 200, big homes back in the day. But now
And things
the
have
average is like
changed.
450, 420.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easily.
And it's probably going to go up if interest rates continue to go down, depending on who the next president is going to be. Things may change a little bit. I just was talking to you about that today.
I know we were having a conversation just essentially about like misconceptions and misunderstanding about things that presidents have done to help or hurt, and some things that to the common eye look like they help. Morgan was saying there can be a flip side to that where it's actually not helpful.
Specifically, part of the reason... I'm sorry.
No, interest rates. I want you to say something about that.
Yeah.
No, for real, because Morgan knows. Realtor Morgan, we listen to Realtor Morgan on the home buying.
Well, I don't talk too much about politics per se, but I do want to bring out the fact that everyone wants the interest rates to be as low as possible so they can all buy, but people don't really know the cause and effect of that. One of the reasons why we're in the state of the market right now is because interest rates were so low for so long, and the market moved so fast, and created a lot of issues. Number one, not a lot of sellers and buyers, well, really sellers, are thinking, oh, because I bought my house during this time, or I sold a house during this time, the house was sitting on the market for like 2 days and was in multiple offer situation. Now the inventory is like 6 months. So now homes are literally sitting for 30 to 45 days, and some people aren't even getting their value. So there's a lot of pros and cons. The interest rates went up. Since the interest rates went up, now we have home prices up as well. So home prices in some areas are actually coming down. Yeah. There's just a lot going on at one time. You 100%. Know what I mean? So what do you think is going to happen?
You broke that down really well.
Yes,
I'm impressed. A lot of realtors cannot break that. That is impressive. They're not seriously. The majority of realtors cannot break down what he just did, right? Like they don't even understand how we're in the state of the market that we're in today, right? But where I foresee things going, and that's a great question. I think interest rates are not going to come down as low as we think they are anymore, especially with the recent data that's came out with inflation and the unemployment report and things like that.
Which weighs a lot.
Which weighs a whole lot. And a lot of people think, so the Fed at their last meeting cut interest rates. They cut the Federal Reserve rate is what they cut. That doesn't necessarily mean that mortgage rates were going to come down. Now, it does have a domino effect on mortgage rates. That is true, because when rates increased, mortgage rates went up as well. It does have a domino effect, but mortgage rates move every day, and it follows the 10-year yield. All right, which normally what follows that is economic data. So it's basically the bond market. That's what it is. And I know I'm probably speaking Chinese to a lot of people.
No, you're good.
I'll try not to.
This is great.
But essentially, it's about how investors feel about the economy and if they're optimistic or if they're concerned, right? And if they're really concerned about the direction of what the economy is going, they're going to say, okay, we need to pump more money into it so that we keep the economy afloat, right? But if they're optimistic and they're like, oh, things are moving smooth, everything's looking good. Okay, we got to slow down. We got to slow this party down because inflation will get out of control, right?